And welcome to Unsportsmanlike Conduct. I'm Tommy Morris. He's Trevor Baru. And we are up, what is this, episode 5, Trev? I lost track.
Yeah, it's episode 5. You know, we're going to do our first episode without a guest because we finally feel like we might be able to pull the show along on our own. It's a bold move.
It is a bold move, and another bold move is me doing this. I'm just going to go ahead and divulge it. I'm going to let everyone know. I'm doing this from a parking lot right now on my laptop/cell phone. So I'm going, this is a maverick, trailblazing adventure for me right now.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about quality. You know, I don't really care where the show was being broadcast from as long as the quality's there. And we'll find out today if you're prepared. You know, we'll find out if the way I've been looking at it, we might have already lost people listening within these first 30 seconds. So we should probably just get into the topics and really, dive into it.
All right, well, the topics we're going to talk about, we're obviously going to talk about the NBA playoffs, a little bit of coaching changes in the NBA, and then we're going to get into a nice little game of psychic palm reading, which will be fun. Then obviously our who's hot, who's not, and our social media will start.
And the emoji, emoji of the week. You can't forget the emoji of the week.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Well, it's almost I think it's. Are we still going to do the dual emoji? It's like 2 emojis combined to make 1 emoji, which is a whole new emoji experience for everyone.
But I'm just proud that the new game is sticking. So we got to bring that up.
It is. You're right. Should we start with the first topic?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right. We'll go to the NBA playoffs. The Heat are playing the Pacers. Obviously, OKC and Spurs. We'll talk about the Heat-Pacers series first. The Pacers, whoa, right? I mean, they kind of came out of nowhere, won the first game at home. Trev, I mean, are these the real Pacers?
The craziest fact is since Andrew Bynum has left the Pacers, they've looked like a completely new team. They haven't lost. You factor that in with the fact that Evan Turner hasn't been playing, and suddenly it's like the Pacers before they started making all these weird moves. If you remember in the middle of the season, they acquire Andrew Bynum, they trade Danny Granger for Evan Turner, and suddenly they go into this nosedive, and now they're back to the way they were before. Roy Hibbert suddenly figured out how to play again. It's like this whole drama with Paul George banging his fiance just got put to rest, so who knows what happened with that or if it was actually true. But they looked great game one. My hesitancy to hop on the Pacers bandwagon is that I think that game was a little bit of aberration. I mean, Chris Bosh was abysmal from 3. He didn't play a good game, and I think the Pacers got away with a lot of things they won't get away with the rest of the series. So it's great to see the Pacers back in the form they had earlier in the season, but I'm still going with the Heat in this series.
Yeah, and the Pacers shot out of their mind that game. I don't think we'll see that again. But, okay, conspiracy theory. You ready for this?
I'm ready. Shoot.
Okay, are you familiar with the term a pool shark?
A pool shark. I could use a refresher.
So basically, it's a guy who goes to a pool hall, puts some money on the game, tanks it, loses, says double or nothing, and then he actually tries, and plays and just smokes the table.
So you think the Pacers have been playing down on purpose to make the Heat kind of feel like they have easier competition?
I'm just saying, what if?
I will say, okay, you know what? I'm not completely buying that, but I do think there's definitely the mental aspect of there was so much pressure on the Pacers to get back to where they were last season and achieve more that the first couple of rounds there was just so much stress and pressure that once they got past those potential upsets, now that kind of monkey's off their back a little bit. No one expects them to beat the Heat. They can kind of play free and not as stressed, and I think that's what you're starting to see. I don't know about the pool shark analogy, but there's definitely less pressure than there was against the Atlanta Hawks. Would you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think part of it, too, is you see this a lot with teams that when they win a championship, obviously the Pacers didn't win one, but they don't take the regular season the next year as seriously because it just doesn't mean as much to them, and I think maybe that happened with the Pacers a little bit. Towards the end of the year, they started to maybe not care as much, kind of felt like they had already accomplished what they needed to, and then the first couple of rounds of playoffs, kind of hard to get up for those games, even though it is a playoffs. They had Miami in their sights. So
put it this way: if they win Game 2, I'll start believing. But I just can't see LeBron not figuring this series out. He's just too good right now, and I don't think the Heat are as good as in years past. But I just can't see LeBron letting them lose this series. So that's my 2 cents on the Heat Pacers for now. Talk to me if the Pacers go up 2-0, then I'll start believing a little more. Moving on to the Western. Do you have Tom? You have anything else to add, or
no? I was going to say exactly what you just said.
Okay. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yes.
So moving on to the Western Conference Finals, we have the Thunder and Spurs. Kind of a disheartening little note going into the series. Serge Ibaka supposedly lost for the playoffs with a calf injury. That definitely changed the series, but supposedly the Spurs don't believe that Ibaka's out for the playoffs. What do you think about this whole Ibaka injury, Tommy?
I think you're never going to pull a fast one past Pop. I think that's what it is. So I think maybe they're a little bit skeptical, but I don't think that. I mean, it's one thing to say the guy might be kind of hurt. He's day to day. We're not sure how he's going to perform, and then him be totally fine. It's another thing to say he's out of the playoffs and then magically have him appear in the game. So I think that he is actually hurt, and I don't think the Thunder can win without him.
I think you might see the Thunder steal a game playing small ball and kind of not catch the Spurs off guard, because with the Pop team I don't think that happens, but kind of catch them out of their element. But I don't think they can win this series without Ibaka. It's kind of like what happened with the Warriors and Clippers losing Bogut. Ibaka is so key in a series like this to defend a Tiago Splitter, to defend a Tim Duncan. It's really unfortunate that 2 years in a row the Thunder have to lose one of their key players in a series like this, especially with the pressure that's adding up on the Thunder to win a championship. I don't see a way they can win this series.
Good point. Oh, wow. Sorry, I saw something.
What'd you see? I mean, if you're doing the show remote and you see something, you got to let us know what it is.
Well, there was a woman. I've been sitting in this car for a pretty extended period of time because we talked on the phone before preparing the show, and she's been sitting in the car for the same amount of time. She just got out, and it appears like she's going on a first date. It's like a middle-aged couple. This is very awkward interactions going on in front of me.
It probably would get more awkward if they saw you staring at them.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I'm wearing sunglasses, which is great. But I mean, she's she's trying to impress someone. She's not wearing a lot of clothes. Anyway,
should we
moving on?
Is that, if we move on to the third topic right now, is that the most seamless transition we've ever had?
I think so. I mean, I guess you go from someone who's not wearing any clothes to someone who doesn't have a coach in the Knicks. Knicks don't have a coach. They lost Steve Kerr. That was pretty good, right?
It was.
They lose Steve Kerr to the Golden State Warriors. First of all, do you like the hire by the Warriors? And second of all, what are the Knicks going to do without a coach this late?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the Warriors go, I love the hire. I'm always going to be a bit hesitant when you hire a coach who's never had any coaching experience, especially when you just hired one in Mark Jackson that had none, and now you're hiring another one. But I think he's gonna fit what the Warriors are trying to do well. He's not just bringing the triangle; he's bringing elements of that Chicago Bulls team with elements of what he learned under Greg Popovich with the Spurs. And he has 5 rings. I think it will be a really good fit. The only issue I have is I think it's gonna take a little bit of time to get those Warriors to learn his offense, learn his defense, learn his playing style, and kind of get over being coached by Mark Jackson because they had such an affinity for him. So you might see them digress before they improve, but I think in the long term, it's a good move for the Warriors. And considering they lost out on Stan Van Gundy, who I didn't want the Warriors to have as coach anyways, if they had lost out on Steve Kerr, then you start getting to these secondary options. People start second-guessing the move not to keep Jackson as much. So I think it was pivotal for the Warriors to get Kerr. As far as the Knicks go, I don't ever want to question Phil Jackson saying he wasn't prepared or caught off guard, but it doesn't seem like he had much of a second option behind Kerr. It seemed like he had his eggs all in one basket, unless he has something up his sleeve that we don't know about. And I know there's been rumblings about Derek Fisher, about potentially Luke Walton, which is kind of crazy, but Derek Fisher came out today and said he wasn't sure he even wanted to coach. He's got to focus on the Thunder right now. So I think the Knicks coaching situation, it's really interesting because it's so up in the air. You'd think a candidate like Mark Jackson, who played for the Knicks, grew up in New York, would be a great candidate. But Phil has such an ideal profile for what he wants as a coach. I think it's going to be tough to just nab that coach right now. It's going to take a while.
Yeah, I think what Phil wants is he wants a younger guy who he can kind of coach, much like Pat Riley did with Eric Spoelstra. I think that's what he's looking for. So it wouldn't shock me if it was kind of a lesser-known name, and it's basically just a medium for Phil Jackson to actually coach the team through. Just tell the young guy what to do and have him tell the players. As far as Kerr goes, in my opinion, I don't necessarily think something about getting a guy who's never coached before makes me a little weary, but I trust Phil Jackson basketball-wise more than probably anyone else on the planet. And if he was so adamant about trying to get him, that must mean something. So,
and Tommy,
because of that,
Tommy, on that note, something else to remember is there's only, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's only 4 NBA coaches who have won a ring, and that's Greg Popovich. You have Eric Spoelstra. You have who's the Mavericks coach? Rick Carlisle, and then you have one more that I'm forgetting right now that you got to save me on.
Oof.
How am I missing this right now? Or maybe it's 3. No, I think it's.
What?
This is killing me right now. Spurs, Heat,
Mikhail doesn't have one, does he?
No, Mikhail doesn't have one. This is how.
Who was coaching? No, that was Larry Brown, I think.
This is terrible.
Bad. Okay. Well, I don't have an internet connection.
Okay, I'm gonna remember that. I'm gonna remember that in a second because I know. God, this is really pissing me off. Okay, I'm gonna remember that. But anyways, my point from that is just there's not that many coaches with a ring that have all this success as a head coach. Unless you want to go retread, to a George Karl or to Lionel Hollins or someone like that. I don't see it as big of a risk hiring a new coach just because I wouldn't say it's that much more of an advantage hiring a coach who's been there, who's set in his ways, who might not necessarily bring that much more to the table. So it can be risky, but I just don't think it's as big a deal as some people make it. I'm going to remember who that other coach is. This is really aggravating me.
You will. Well,
sometime later in the show because I know this is too easy.
Maybe once you put your psychic hat on, maybe you'll remember because we're about to jump into the transitions today.
Transitions today are just flawless.
They're flawless.
So on that note, we gotta move on to my favorite segment of the show. Probably the only reason that we do the show is for the game segment. Today it's the Unsportsmanlike Lounge is hosting a psychic card reading. We've got to predict the future. These aren't predictions. This is us seeing the future.
Right. I mean, we didn't choose this gift.
Yeah,
it just came.
The difference is that predictions are an opinion someone has, but.
Yeah, this is just...
When you're in the psychic lounge, this is what's going to happen. This isn't a prediction. This is we see the future.
Right.
All right.
Totally with it.
So,
we will start in Minnesota, or will we, with Kevin Love. Psychic Trevor, where do you see Kevin Love playing next year?
I do not see Kevin Love in Minnesota next year. I see him getting traded on draft day when trades happen out of nowhere. I see multiple picks being involved. I would love to see him go to the Warriors, but I don't think they have the assets. I think somehow Kevin Love ends up on the Chicago Bulls.
Wow. Okay.
So that is my reasoning. I think they have the assets. I think they need to shake things up, and I think that's the only way that they can make Thibs happy and keep him in Chicago.
Well, that's like 30 rebounds a night between him and Noah. That'd be pretty insane.
So that's if we're going for a wild card, I want to hear, maybe let's get you. Do we have a wild card, Tommy? Where do you see?
I do. Can you cue up the is the name of the band Augustina? You know where I'm going with this?
Wait, what?
The band that sings Boston?
Oh yeah. Yo, you want the music? Oh my God. You think he's going to Boston?
I think he is. I think he's tired of the weather.
Tired of the weather? What do you mean? It's freezing in Boston. Snow.
I'm quoting the song, Trevor.
Oh. Well, I can't.
But
what? Do you have like an affinity for Augustana back in the day?
No, whenever I think of Boston, that's just kind of.
Well, now that you bring that up, it's actually. Tell me if you were aware of this fact, because this is quite ironic that in 2007, Kevin Garnett was traded to the Boston Celtics from the Minnesota Timberwolves, and guess what teams were trying to trade for Kevin Garnett? Were inquiring when that trade went down.
Probably the Lakers, the Warriors, and the Bulls.
The Bulls, the Celtics, and I'm missing one. Again, we're missing one. Yeah, but same teams. 7 years ago, star player for the same team. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, tough to keep someone in Minnesota.
Wait, what'd you say?
I said it's tough to keep someone in Minnesota.
It is tough to keep someone in Minnesota. Those long winters, What about the lakes?
The lakes are nice. The lakes are nice in the
Ice
summer.
fishing?
Wakeboarding? Is that people do that?
Yeah,
still?
I think there's.
Or is that? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Tommy, you got the what's my next psychic opportunity? What's my next card reading?
Well, we got to move to the gridiron for this next one. Andre Johnson said he was not too thrilled about the idea of being part of a rebuilding project this late in his career. Do you see him in Houston still next year, or will the Texans do something with him?
This is a tough question. And I see one very obvious potential landing spot for Andre Johnson. Bill O'Brien used to be the offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots haven't had a dominant number one receiver since Randy Moss. Tom Brady's not getting any younger. He took a hometown discount when he re-upped with the Patriots, and they rewarded him by letting Wes Welker go. Danny Amendola is highly injury-prone. We saw that last year. So I see Bill Belichick and Bill O'Brien working out a deal for Andre Johnson and him landing with the New England Patriots.
Interesting. Here's what I think. I think Andre Johnson will not, or here's what I see. Sorry, not what I think.
Yeah, you don't think, you see.
We're seeing the future. I see him as a Texan through the length of his contract, whether he likes it or not. He signed the thing. He's going to be there. He's a competitive guy. He'll play hard. He won't want to be there, but he will be. And
so you're going to be you're going to be one of those parents that tells your kid he can't quit the team because they suck and that he has to see it through the end because that's what a good person does.
No, I would tell him that he has to play on the bad team so he can get more playing time because it's all about him. But that's my kid. This is an aging Andre Johnson versus your 8-year-old kid playing AOSO. Oh yeah, well my kid is gonna have all sorts of. You know what? I'm not getting into that. I have a very good idea of the morals I'm gonna sell my children. They're not so mainstream. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a lot of me first and with my kids.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I just he's under contract. I think the Texans don't think they're that far off. Again, they were like the best team in football 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden they just were terrible. So I think they still think that they might have a shot of being good in the next couple of years, so they will hang on to him throughout the life of his contract, and I don't see him going anywhere.
All right, next up.
Okay, next.
This is me. I asked you this one.
Oh, okay. All right.
Or did I? Wait, did I? Let's go. You asked the last one. Yeah.
Well, here's what happened. We went 2 in a row for you, so I thought maybe we just finish it out like that. But if you want to switch it up, that's fine.
It's cool. I'm a giver. Okay. I'm not a taker.
Okay.
So back to basketball. Today, we found out that the Memphis Grizzlies front office is in upheaval. Their owner Robert Parra fired their GM the assistant GM and CEO when they fired their head coach Lionel Hollins last year. Apparently, ESP or formerly of ESPN, John Hollinger's job is in jeopardy along with their current coach, which is kind of crazy. And rumor has it they want to trade for Tom Thibodeau, a trade draft pick for Tom Thibodeau. Just a rumor, but it's with Robert Parra, he's a 35-year-old owner. I don't know how that happens, but he's trying to trade for Tom Thibodeau. Is Tom Thibodeau the Chicago Bulls coach next season?
No. As far as I can remember, I think the last time we saw a coach get traded was Gruden going Al Davis in his insanity prime. Actually, it was kind of the beginning of his insanity. Traded away John Gruden. I think that was the last time this happened, right?
Well,
yeah,
I think so.
I think it could happen because there was a lot of rumors that they were going to let go of Thib, and I mean, if he's still kind of fighting with the front office and they can get a draft pick out of it, you don't know what's going to happen with Derrick Rose. I would do it. I would do it if Memphis feels that strongly about it. Or I guess the 35-year-old owner feels that strongly about it. It's going to happen. So I think
I got it. Dude, wait, I got it. Doc Rivers.
Doc. Oh, that was really dumb. Yeah, that happened literally last year.
Well, he didn't win a championship last year, 2008.
Yeah,
we got it. That's as long as we got. I told you I was going to get it.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the coach getting traded.
No. I'm saying we were talking. Wait, Doc.
You're right.
Doc Rivers didn't get traded. Right. He just got let out of his deal.
And I told you because we're both psychics now that when we got into the psychic segment, you would remember it.
Yeah, but I'm saying Doc Rivers is the other coach with the ring.
Yeah, I remember.
Because there were 4. So it's Rick Carlisle, it's Greg Popovich, it's Doc Rivers, and it's Eric Spoelstra. So that's what I was trying to say. There we go. Moment of clarity.
I'm proud of you.
Okay, so let's now that we got that covered, you could pitch me our last psychic card reading.
Okay, we'll go back to football. I guess the boardrooms of football. I think the owners are having the meeting tomorrow. There's something on the table to expand the playoffs to some more teams. Do you see the NFL playoffs expanding, or will it stay the same?
Yes, I see them expanding because the NFL only cares about one thing. We've known this for a long time, and that is the dollar sign. We've seen it with them, and there's no clearer example than what they've tried to do with only covering up concussions until now because there's lawsuits going on. And now we're seeing it with Jim Irsay. I mean, look at this. The guy gets in trouble for a DUI. He doesn't get reprimanded at all because he's an owner. But if you're a player, you're banned for at least 4 games for this kind of stuff. So I think it's very clear the NFL only cares about money. Expanding the playoffs generates more TV dollars, more hype. They can expand the playoffs. I see this happening. It's just a matter of when, not a matter of if.
I see it happening too. It's kind of awkward that they have 6 from each conference make the playoffs. Might as well make it 8. Keep it a nice, even round number. And that's not too crazy. 2 more teams is not too crazy. So I think that it will happen.
I'm not a huge fan of it because I think that the NFL playoffs will be diluted with more teams. But I will say this. I think it will create for a more competitive regular season. Not to say it's not competitive right now. Because if only one team gets that first round bye, which we've seen it could be instrumental in winning. I mean, it was instrumental last year in winning the Super Bowl. It hasn't always been. But if there's only one team that can get home field advantage, you're going to see more competitive late regular season games.
Good point.
So that's going to do it.
Now we go to the fun stuff, right?
What? Yeah, that's going to do it for the Psychic Lounge. But we're not done with our games. We got so the social media moment of the week.
Great moment.
Yeah, it goes to little guy, probably 8, 9 years old. He's been catching a few foul balls during a baseball game, and he gets another ball, and it looks like he tosses the girl next to him ball. She's all excited about it, but really he pulled out the ball he already had and gave it to her. Pulled the old switcheroo, kept the game ball. Does he deserve what's the award that he deserves for this, Tom? I mean, is this foreshadowing for the kind of future he's going to have with ladies?
I mean, the reward this kid deserves is props from everyone, because that is such a sweet move. I mean, first of all, to get the ball, and then also the girl looks like this kid probably looks like he's probably 12, and this girl looks like she's probably 18. So that is just,
I don't know about 18. That
insane. You got to have some confidence. You got to have some cojones to pull off that move.
But this is something I wonder. Sometimes when you're a kid, you pull off a move like that, and you don't really realize what you were doing, but everyone's applauding you, so you act like you knew what you were doing all along. Do you think he knew what he was doing, or do you think that it just happened that he gave her that ball?
Oh, he knew what he was doing. This little Romeo kid right here knew exactly what he was doing.
Romeo.
Should I update everyone on the daters, by the way? What?
I think someone already took Lil Romeo.
Oh, no. Little, not Lil apostrophe.
It's cool.
Yes.
Let that one pass. So I think it's time for a little who's hot, who's not.
No, is it emoji time or is it who's hot, who's not?
Oh, I could. You know what? Let's hit the emoji first. That's our go-to.
Okay, so Michael Sam no longer doing reality TV show. So in honor of that, our emoji of the week it's a double emoji. We got the circle with the line through it, and then the TV emoji. Trev, was this a good idea to not go forth with the quote-unquote documentary?
Yeah, it's definitely a good idea. I mean, I would guess that the Rams talked to him. They basically said, we don't want distractions. We want you to focus on football. If you want to be a part of this team, you postpone the show. So I think it's the right decision. And like we've talked about in past shows, the craziness of Twitter, the craziness of just the internet today. I mean, there was a lot of negative response to that show very quickly towards Michael Sam. People that were on his side at first responded negatively, and I think it was obvious from that exact moment. They're like, all right, we got to table this thing. We got to let him focus on his playing on the field, not off the field.
I totally agree with you. I think it was the right move to kind of pull the plug on it. Maybe come back to it next year, maybe next offseason if he has a decent year. But to do it while he's trying to make an NFL team, not a good call.
All right, now we're to who's hot, who's not. Tommy, let's hear who's not. Take it from here.
Here's who's hot. So, being from San Diego, one of my idols was Tony Gwynn. He had a couple stabs at the 400 mark. No one's really come close. Troy Tulowitzki, though, only 7 points shy. He plays in Coors Field, so it's going to be easy for him to hit. He's hot right now, almost hitting 400. We got to keep an eye on him throughout the year to see if he can stay up there near the 4-century mark.
Quite a feat. My who's not's got to be Kevin Ollie. He just got a new 5-year deal with Connecticut worth upwards of $3 million a year. He was making about $1.25 million last year, so what a year for Kevin Ollie. Finally rewarded. He was getting some potential inquiries from NBA teams. This is probably why he just got this new contract. But I mean, to over double your salary in a year where you also win the national championship as a sophomore head coach, that's why Kevin Ollie is my who's hot for the week.
And who is your not hot?
My who's not's got to go to the one and only, the big guy, Aaron Hernandez, indicted on double murder charges last week. So now he is going to be on trial for 3 different murders. And the craziest thing about this story is that ESPN, different news outlets, were showing an interview with Aaron Hernandez after he got his new contract. It was 2 years ago. And, or was it 2 years? It was 2 years ago. And he was talking about, how he's a changed man and the Patriot way and what Bill Belichick's done to, improve his character. And according to the dates, and if this is allegedly true, he just committed this double murder like a month and a half before he got this new contract. Talk about delusional.
Jeez.
He's not hot, He's getting in prison fights. He's locked in the dark, He's not hot. He's probably cold. He's cold.
Is it my turn to reveal my cold person?
This would be your cue.
Well, I kind of want to change it now because this guy is completely blowing this date. After they got out of the car, they're sitting at some Italian restaurant. This guy looks super nervous.
Oh, you're still watching this couple?
Well, yes.
So you can tell from the body language right now that he's not able to hold a conversation.
He's tensing up. He's kind of leaning away. He looks like he's self-conscious about something. He needs to take tips from that kid who threw the foul ball.
Hey, just tell me something. Is he wearing sandals?
No, he's wearing some kind of loafer. He looks like he's about 50. He's got that middle-aged man outfit thing. He's got like a bowling shirt on, like Charlie Sheen would wear.
Yeah.
That type of deal. Some slacks and some loafers. He just looks uncomfortable out there. Anyway, my knot is me, actually. I was listening to the radio, and I heard the story about Peyton Manning getting arrested. Apparently, Peyton Manning had 2 mason jars full of marijuana and a Coke can sitting in the driver's seat with cocaine dissolving in it, and was arrested early this morning. I then went ahead and texted everyone I knew, only to find out that it was not Peyton Manning, the football player, but rather Peyton Manning, an 18-year-old female who just happened to also be named Peyton Manning, who just happened to also live in Nashville. So, shame on me, I'm cold.
Wow. I'm gonna let the air stay silent for a second. Soak that in. I lost you. All I heard is there's one Peyton Manning, there's another Peyton Manning, there's drugs involved, that you're involved. I'm lost.
Yeah, I was pretty lost too. So it was not a good moment for me. I'm glad I didn't tweet it. I came very close to tweeting a joke, and it didn't happen.
There you go.
So it could have been worse. I could have been colder, but oof.
So that's gonna leave us with our last part of the show, predictions. So I think, our cop-out predictions, we'll just pick the NBA Finals. I'm going to go with pretty much a prediction that anyone could predict, so I don't know why anyone would even listen to me say this, but I'm just going to say Spurs in 6, Heat in 7, Spurs-Heat rematch, and that's all I got.
I'm going to do the same thing as you, but switch the games. So Spurs in 7, Heat in 6, and then we'll talk about the finals when they get there. Since we're both psychics, that's 100% going to happen. So you can go ahead and get your schedule plan for the finals.
I think next week the series will still probably both be on, so we can check.
Oh, we're going to talk about hockey. Yeah. Hockey predictions all week.
We should talk about
next week.
Talk about hockey a little bit. I just, after what happened to the Sharks, I just don't like hockey. I boycott hockey on the show. It's not fair to everyone who likes hockey, who doesn't care about the Sharks, so that's kind of my take on it. But I don't know. I probably see the Kings going down 0-3 and then winning the next 4, so there's my prediction for that. Canadians, Kings. There you go, Tommy.
Canadians, so both teams that lost game 1 are going to win.
Yeah, because hockey doesn't make sense.
Rangers and the Kings.
Nice. LA, New York.
Great for the sport.
Great for Gretzky.
Yeah, good for Wayne Gretzky.
And his daughter.
Good for Paulina Gretzky.
All right. I think on that note, let you get back to watching that couple on their date, and we'll check back in next week. Yeah, and the guy looks like he's settling in a little bit too, in case you were worried. Is he? Can you tell? Is he having a soup or a salad? Have not gotten the food yet. He's sipping on. It's either. Some Chardonnay? It looks like an Arnold Palmer. She's got a glass of wine, so that tells you how that's going for her. I don't think she's feeling great about it either. So
we'll
Oh, yeah.
next week I'll update everyone.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to hear. Well, that's going to do it for episode 5 of Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Maybe we'll bring a guest back next week. We'll see. The views go down a lot, then maybe we'll probably have to bring the guest back. So we'll see how much people listen for us versus the big guest,
How about getting this guy on next week?
I mean, if you could pull those strings, that actually would be great. If you could go get his number after this, find out how the date went, and bring him on the show, I think that would actually be more engaging than any sports guest we could get.
All right, here's what I'll do. I'll get his number, and if enough people comment, tweet, or whatever that they want him next week, we'll get him next week.
But you got to get his number.
I'll get it. I'm going to get it either way. But if there's enough interest in how this man's date's going, he's got those glasses that turn into sunglasses when you're outside. You know what I'm talking about?
He's a crafty one.
He is a sneaky guy. Yeah, he's. But
the adjectives really aren't coming to you right now, are they?
What's not coming?
The adjectives.
No, they've never been there. No, yep.
All right, that's gonna do it for us. For Unsportsmanlike Conduct, I'm Trevor Brew.
I'm Tommy Morris.
We'll see you next week.
Peace.